Hi, this is Arik,
And Aurelia.
and we're here to talk about life and interesting things.
Or so we think, but in the end, you'll be the judge of it.
Either way, what we have to talk about is
Ageless!
So, my first question today for this podcast is, how would you explain the state of being in a verb?
Oh, a verbal like a vortex, he means, for the non-German speaking crowd. And how would I explain that state of being?
Yeah, I think it's more than a vortex, so just for the listeners, or to explain vortex, it's like one of the best ways I can describe it is like, if you're just, how sometimes like if you're in the park or if you've ever been on a playground and then like you just see leaves kind of just spinning randomly.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the spinning.
Yeah, like a vortex.
Yeah, vortex. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah. How would you describe that? That being in that state.
Well, like if you are in that state, then I only know it from observation because hopefully, I've never been in that state, but
Definitely, that's why
that
I'm
would
asking
be
you.
one of the signs. If you're in that state, you do not know it. You're just running in circles with what is called a chicken without a head. I mean, you're just running and running and running, and you do a lot of exploring, and then when you come full circle, it's like as if you have not learned anything at all. It's not like in a spiral, where you are taking the information and integrate it, and then even though you're at the supposedly same spot, but you're a tier higher, but you're literally spinning in circles. It's like, let's say you have beef with me, and then I explain to you what's going on and what this is, and every step along the way you keep saying yes, 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 I understand, yes, I understand. And then let's say it can be as long as an hour. You say, yeah, but. And then you come back to the original statement as if, we have not said anything, which means you're basically, if you're in a wirbel, you're basically entirely disconnected from anything but that driving force.
So it kind of reminds me of episode 1, season 1, Let Him Spin.
Yes, but it's a little bit more serious than that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's fixated.
Yes.
It's spinning but fixated.
Yes.
Kind of like if you're on a Ferris wheel and you look at one object, and like even though you're going around, if you're just fixated on one object, then you don't even notice that you're spinning because it's only you and that object, and you're fixated on it.
Mm-hmm.
And everything that you experience, that you hear, that you're talking about, then it always comes back to the tree or whatever it is that you're looking at.
Yeah, everything falls by the wayside. It does not penetrate.
And so how does this work out in relationships with people, or like not necessarily romantic, but just relations, interpersonal relationships, business relationships, social, in society, people.
I can just say it's not working out. I mean,
But it's happening.
It's happening all the time, and people who are engaging, and I'm doing some Dr. Evil air quotes, with that. I think you're really not engaging because you're never listening to the other person, and it's not what we talked also about because you're narcissistic and there's just no room for anybody else. It's not like that. Even people who aren't narcissistic at all, it's just they are so consumed by the information that they focus on that there is no room for anything else. There is no room for anything else to penetrate. That it is so dense. Like, I think the image that you brought up, like with the leaves spinning, I think, that is really a very good image to think of, because like a hurricane also would be like that imagery, or like a dirt devil, if you have seen one ever. It's like there is this wall that spins, and inside, it's like they call it the eye of the storm, that's very calm, but there is no way for you to penetrate that spinning boundary.
Mm-hmm.
And that spinning boundary, in our case that we're talking about, that would be the fixation on a particular information. And you cannot penetrate that. Like, no matter what you try to add or to break through, you will not succeed. So the best thing is to just abandon and just stand by and nod your head and go like, yeah.
Can you like give an example, like, or just make one up, like these fixations? Or explain why people get so fixated on things? Or is that like attachment?
Yeah, it's attachment to an emotional state. I mean, I can...
Oh, so it's not even attachment to an idea.
No.
It's an emotion.
Usually an emotion.
Of being right, or...
I don't know, like the first time I consciously experienced something like that, it was with a friend of mine, and she felt like totally betrayed because I was shopping with another friend and did not take her.
Okay.
But we were shopping for something that she had, prior to that, admitted she does not need and she does not want. So, by all means, I thought it is very okay to go with that friend who wanted to buy that. Okay, the moment this other friend found out that I was shopping with somebody else, like, she freaked the fuck out. Sorry, bleep. Either way, she totally freaked out. And
I could put like a Jerry Springer beep.
Yeah, exactly. So either way, I then went on explaining to her, see, I really do not know.
But it shows how much it tripped you out.
Yeah, it really did. And it still does when I think about it. That energy of utter confusion is
it's a confusion.
There. It's total confusion. And I tried my best to explain to her. I said, see, I really do not know why you have your knickers in a knot, because you told me you're not interested in that particular object, and you don't have room for it, and you don't want it. And so it's clearly not about the thing that I bought. It's clearly about that you feel left out. But why would you feel left out when I hear you say, you don't want to have anything to do with it? And every step along the way, like to my arguments, she would say, yes, it's true. Yes, it's true. And I felt so good. I felt we were resolving something and we were making headway. And then, when I felt like, oh, I can breathe and it's all well, then she said, but how come you didn't take me and you take her? Mm-hmm. And that's like the thing where I then realized we did this like 3 times, this whole thing. And then I realized, I said, well, you're like caught up in this eddy, like how in the water there are eddies.
Yeah.
And just you cannot swim out of them because that would be that wall again.
Yeah.
That we're saying. And there is nothing I can say or do that helps you, because you have to address the underlying issue first of feeling unloved by me or feeling you're being replaced. None of that was true, but those were all the issues.
That was the fixation.
Yeah, but guess what? Did she hear that? No. Next thing, you think we're still friends, no.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, it's about some kind of addiction to emotional state
Yes.
of unresolved issues.
Yes.
Do you think people can be like in smaller and bigger eddies?
Oh, there can be whole huge groups in one eddy.
No, but like, yeah, okay, that's interesting. Go ahead, elaborate on that, and then I will like rephrase my question.
Yeah, let's say if you have a group that feels like victimized about the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Then they would all be in this eddy together.
Mm-hmm.
And no matter what you try to educate them, that,
Mm-hmm.
maybe there's another perspective, another point of view, they would see it or not see it in the same way. My friend saw that.
That makes so much sense because many times, like when I'm helping people get through crisis or situations that they're trying to recover from, I usually suggest to them that in my experience in the past, it's not a good idea to go to a support group.
Oh, not at all. That would be
Yeah,
such an eddy.
but that makes sense now, like putting it in these kinds of words, because what usually happens in these support groups is that they reinforce the trauma, they reinforce the patterns, and like they bond off of something that, had happened to them,
Yeah.
but it keeps them down.
Yes.
With the exception of like AA or something, because there it's not like you're acknowledging the higher power, and you're
Even if you really do that.
if you really do it,
because if not, then it becomes just
that's
like
true.
this kind of
there are people that go to these AA meetings or whatever, and they're not really doing it, but they're using it like a support group. That's
exactly.
true.
And these are then the people who like 30 years later say, hi, I'm Aurelia, I'm an alcoholic. Where, we know that AA works.
You're labeling yourself. And,
after so many years, really acknowledging the higher power and doing the work, you're no longer an alcoholic because you realize that, oh, wow, it was totally about something else, and you let that go, and you don't need that crutch anymore. And like any quote-unquote normal person, you can have a glass of wine on the full moon, without freaking out. Right.
Yeah, but it's normally it's like this ego kind of congress.
Yes.
It's like this happened to us, and you can either go like activist about it, or you can go victim, like in the more passive way. And I even know that just for myself, like as I was recovering from, my childhood abuse and whatnot, that if people that like wanted to relate to that and talk about that, I was like, oh hell no, this is like, that's, I could feel the energy, it's like dragging down. It's like, let's make this group of poor me victims, it's necessary to grieve, and also to support each other, but that's it, then it's done. Then it's done, and you have to take responsibility, accept your quote unquote fate, and then, heal and elevate.
So what that is, like that stage where you do need the support and where you do have to acknowledge it, this is all to basically break that core of abuse apart so that you can actually, let's say if you have a boil, it's not going to heal if it's just festering in itself. Sometimes like you need to drain that boil, which means you have to maybe go to the doctor and have like him use a scalpel, and which means like to create an opening so that some healing agent can penetrate. And with our wirbel, we have said, that's exactly not what's happening. Nothing is penetrating, nothing new comes in. So yes, you grieve together, you feel supported, but this is all in creating space. And those wirbel, they are actually contracting more.
Yeah, that's right. That's totally right. And I've seen like healers and therapists or whatnot, and like where they want to acknowledge and really kind of dare I say it, like bank off the pain of others without
Yes.
really helping them to elevate. Because I mean, hey, there's like a lifetime client right there.
Yeah, bank off literally.
And I just think it's like, nah, like, if anyone is listening and you feel like, well, I'm not really getting better, then, you need to maybe really like think about,
Yeah.
what guidance you're following and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And so going back to actually the question that I asked you, like about the bigger and the smaller eddies, is, which I guess would be the English word for a verb, like an eddy.
Yeah.
Like it's, so the way I understand it is like an eddy is basically a judgment.
Yeah.
It's a judgment, and I'm asking, like, you can have these smaller eddies where you're just like, for example, with like your friend, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like these situational eddies that are like,
Yeah.
but yes, I understand what you're saying, but you said this, and I
Exactly.
can't let this go, and everything keeps coming back to this, and
Yes.
everything you say, I compare it to this, and this is my delusion, and you can never break that.
Yes.
And then in Bavarian you would say spinnst du.
Yeah.
Like you're spinning,
Yeah.
right? And then I'm asking them, like, can you have these like bigger eddies that like they're not so like hyper and reactive, but they're just more like, like they rotate at the rate of Pluto, where it's
Yeah.
kind of like these. You will probably never even confront it in one lifetime.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Like such a big delusion, like so big that you can never, like you just like
Like you're in it, but you never feel
the movement of it,
the
spin,
movement or the restriction or like the limit,
the limitation
of it.
Oh, so yeah, I mean, obviously it's limiting, but it's limiting.
Mm-hmm.
How so?
Like everything that's intrinsically a contraction is limiting. Like if you, in any situation, are so fixated that you do not allow a different point of view to enter your perception.
Oh, okay. So then you have like cognitive bias.
Yes.
Like where you compare everything that you hear and you fit it into your judgment, your discrimination, your prejudice, your racism,
Yes.
like all this, like everything
Yes.
is being put into that. So like if like the Buddha or God or Jesus himself would appear in front of you looking like someone that falls within your prejudice, you would never see them for who they are.
Never. That's like the beauty of the Tibetan Bardo teachings.
Okay.
Where they say like after you die, then of course, like everybody sees the light and everybody first will be in the light. The problem is, can you stay there? Of course, if you have a hell rebirth is instant, but let's just not go to the extreme. Let's just go like your average person dying, going into the light, no problem. And then the vessel not being strong enough to stay there. Because then, like, some of those attachments will come and show themselves in front of you. And then here comes your journey.
Okay.
And then it ends exactly where you say, like the Buddha, like the clear light where you are, or God, or Jesus, or whoever it is, you will perceive it as a threat. And you will start to run and hide.
Yeah. It's horrible. So we have these smaller eddies and these bigger eddies. So how can you deal with someone who's in an eddy?
Going back in this case then to our ageless number one, you have to let them spin. Because you cannot reach them.
No, because it's my fixation. It's my trauma, and don't you dare mess with my narrative.
Yeah.
This is my story. This is my self-importance.
Yes.
These are my emotions, and don't you dare even come close to that, because if you do,
I'll punish you.
I will punish you, and you will get hit with something spinning around in my eddy, because you're the one who's spinning.
Yeah. Exactly.
So if someone is spinning out of control, either long term or short term, we just like step back, like step outside of their tornado. Don't step into their tornado, because you might step into the eye, and then you think that everything's okay, but really it's not.
Yeah.
Can that happen?
This can 100% happen, and this then
like in relationships.
Exactly. That would be like in more intimate relationships than where that happens.
Like where we both step into, like we're both in an eddy, but we're both in the eye because one of us has stepped in, and then we say, "Hey, everyone around us is crazy," because obviously looking from the like if you're at the eye of the storm and you're looking out, it looks crazy, but really you're crazy because you're in that contracted storm.
Yeah.
So how can you know if you're crazy or not?
Like that's the most famous quote. If you ask yourself if you're crazy, you're probably not. Like it's everything is, it all comes down to self-reflection. And so this
honesty.
You
need honesty.
And this is then what will eventually, and I do not know the time span, because only the person and their personal fate will decide that, when there are compounded experiences that will bounce the person again and again and again against the wall of this eddy, where it like then make them break through, or something very outrageous will happen that shoots them out.
What's a compounded experience?
Let's say, going back to my example with that friend. Okay, so I didn't go shopping with her, and then maybe a week later another friend doesn't want to go shopping with her, and then maybe the same day there's an office party and she's not going to get invited, and then so this is then all compounding on that experience, like of her not being loved.
The problems follow you. You can't run away from your problems. Yeah. But it's not, I can tell you right now, it's not the problem of your friend. It's everybody else's problem.
Yes, of course.
Because all these people, I just can't find people that are real. Yeah. These people, they're just all betraying me.
That's right.
It's about me. Because remember, I'm at the center of the storm looking out. You guys are crazy. Yeah. I'm not. I'm the victim of bad friends.
Yeah. But at some point, and this is why I said I cannot say if this is tomorrow or in 100 lifetimes, but eventually the experience becomes compounded enough that it's like a wrecking ball wrecking the wall of the eddy. And in our terms of cosmic pixels, then that would be a tower.
Yeah. Oh, we're going to be going into that level.
Yeah.
The tower very soon. You can download the class off of arixander.com. We have all these different beautiful classes. They're introductory classes on tarot symbolism, and they go as deep as you want it to, based on the tarot deck that Aurelia and I oversaw the designs of, and it's a very powerful journey where you can really look and see these different symbols and find them in your reality, and I'm really excited about that. Yeah. To go into the tower. It's one of my favorite archetypes. Yeah. But
being the wrecking ball, he means.
Yeah, that's right. Do you think though that there is a possibility to be so dishonest that you can never get wrecked?
Never is too long. No.
Okay.
We're not dealing in absolutes. Like never does not exist. Like I said.
But the more dishonest you are, the longer it'll take the wrecking ball.
Yeah, and I mean, lifetimes after lifetimes, that's pretty long.
Yeah.
But in the end, the intention of the all good always wins. It's always gonna pull you out one way or the other.
Just not in 2020.
Oh, no.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I had to.
that was almost a low blow, but yeah.
Uh-huh. Hey, look, I've been I've been working my butt off trying to get everyone to.
I know you
Yeah.
have. I know you have. And no, it's not going to be that
Been
easy. It's not
delineating.
going to be that fast.
I was upfront about it. I said, don't think, the ball drops. It's, you don't want the New Year's Eve ball to drop. You want the tower ball to drop. But it's like, to get us to shift, and we are shifting, but it's
maybe not the way we would have imagined or wanted it.
But either way, so say that you are, so now you've listened to this podcast and you're kind of like, okay, so I want to step out of any eddies that I may or may not be aware of. What can you do? Like, because maybe you say, okay, maybe I'm in an eddy and I want to step out of it.
Well, so then I think also on your website there is like a atonement exercise, atonement level 1.
Yeah.
You could start with that.
Oh yeah,
like
the
again,
atonement exercise.
In the case of that friend of mine, and as you can see, she's getting a lot of blessings today. So that would mean that she says, wow, now I have that almost same experience over and over and over again in all different situations. So now I do that atonement level 1 exercise and see what does that really mean to me. And once you are at this point where you can start to take responsibility, this is a first tiny little puncture hole for new experience.
Wow. So about self-responsibility.
Yes.
And yeah, and the atonement exercise can definitely help you with that. Actually, I created the atonement level 1 as an introduction to your work of atonement, which can only be done via transmission, workshop, and stuff like that. And I'm actually, from this talk, I'm reminded of when you would send out the invitations to your workshops. One of the payments that we had to bring to your workshops was an open mind.
Oh, nice.
And that is, of course, already filtering out the eddies.
Yes.
And I'm sorry if your name's Eddie, but what I mean by that is the people spinning and they're fixated on stuff.
Yes.
Because if you go to a class and you're looking for that support group energy, you're not going to get it from an authentic teacher like yourself.
No.
Because, I can even tell you just, people who come to my classes and they think that they can get this kind of supportive energy. Man, you're barking up the wrong tree.
No, I had people leave, and I had always like this policy that, I don't know, like maybe up to 2 hours into the class, they have a money back and they can leave, because then it only introduces disturbing factor that's not helping anyone, and it's stealing everybody's energy, because they have this really horrific questions. Like, my dog would understand more than they do. And it's just, that's not working.
And much more.
Way much more. So for me, this always would work best to just let them go. And they did. And, you know.
But for those of us who want to cross the threshold of the point of no return,
yes,
that's like, no, I'm ready to get wrecking balled and to step out of these eddies and to do my atonement level 1 and to take self-responsibility, because then you can be empowered about your life. And I can promise you guys that once you start to take responsibility for your life and you become empowered, then you kind of like come over this hill, or you make this like passing over the river, or like whatever image you want to use. Like, you cross this gap of being a victim of life into becoming a creator of life.
Yes, said beautifully. And then making it out of this one eddy doesn't mean that you're instantly enlightened. I mean, you could be, because I do not know this. One eddy could be your last, but chances are, you make it out of that, and then you actually see, oh my God, there is another one. And then realize that, there are like eddies upon eddies, and this is where the image of the onion comes from. How you just really peel off one layer after the other until there is really only open space left.
Here's something really interesting, actually, because actually just today I put the final touches on my book.
Yay!
Zodiac Hacks, and of course I'm always kind of like looking and seeing all the details, like what is okay and what is not okay. But I just realized, like, oftentimes when I'm doing consultation, like when I'm reading people's charts, it's like you can see where the attachments or the fixations are within the eddy, because I mean, let's face it, a zodiac wheel is like a bigger eddy.
Yes.
And you can see like where people are getting, if there's a lot of energy in one area of a chart, you say, oh, okay, hey, there might be some kind of fixation there on that. And it's really interesting because I might spend an entire session, an entire reading, always in the same way, coming back to the same thing, because I will say it in the first 2 minutes, but then, the whole conversation will go like in this other direction, and I'll be like, yeah, that's great, but we got to bring it back to this, and I'll say it like in different ways and whatnot, and sometimes you have to do that. But I think it's interesting because that would be like a reverse eddy to get someone from distracting themselves from the eddy. Like, yeah, I guess like it's about being honest then, I guess.
Yes.
That's like they're not honest enough to really look at also what's being presented in a therapeutic session.
Yes.
But to kind of like, you have to like use the eddy technique to get them to look at the eddy that they're spinning.
100%. And this is why, if you're like guide worth the money, then you don't have an attachment to that. Because I can remember situations where literally decades later, people would come to me or contact me and say, you know what, do you remember that, blah, blah, blah. Now I understand what it was you meant. And yes, you were so right. And it just took them like 10 years or longer, to just have what I brought to the table, like penetrate that wall.
Wow.
Yeah.
I know that.
Yeah.
I totally know that. But yeah, that's really intense.
But if you would be attached, like in your sessions, you would try to preach about it and try to like pound it in, and
that's what I'm saying. Like, I want the praise now.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't want you to take 10 lifetimes and then you all of a sudden get it. Let's just not forget where this insight came from.
Oh, that is so funny, but yes.
But this is
true.
But this is, I'm making a joke, but like I think this is also just very helpful for people if you are helping others, like even if you feel like you're not getting anywhere, you are.
Yes.
You're always getting something somewhere, because words are never lost.
Exactly.
So with that said, this has been Arik
and Aurelia.
And you've just listened to an episode of
Ageless.
Please subscribe to Ageless everywhere podcasts are listened to. I prefer Apple. It's, the Apple Podcasts. It's a good interface and everything works really good there. And please check out my tarot classes online. And until next time, bye. And don't forget to send us to someone that you think might help. Bye-bye.